Hello everybody, Alex here bringing you another knife video. This one is on the Jason Clark Mini Hunter. I'm going to talk about Jason a little bit, or my experience with him, talking about his knives a little bit, and just kind of go through my usual knife ramblings. So here in front of you I have the packaging that he sends it with. As you can see, he sends it with this leather pouch. I'm not sure whether he makes these or outsources these. I do like the leather pouches. It just feels like another handmade good. So I like that. I don't use them, to be honest, but I like having them. He's got his maker's mark on there, or maybe it's not his maker's mark, but he's got a logo and his name and stuff in there. And then he's got his certificate of authenticity. You can see his email and website if you want to go check that out. And this is his maker's mark here, which you can see as shown by what's on the blade. So certificate of authenticity, I'm going to talk about this for a second. I actually like having certificate of authenticities, and it's not because I don't think the knife is authentic. I'm going to guess that there are very few people, or certainly companies, that could possibly put together a counterfeit Jason Clark Mini Hunter. The execution on this knife is too good. The action is too good for somebody to like be able to get away with that, and you wouldn't know that it's authentic. Of course, hoping that people don't steal work, obviously, but it's like, I really like certificate authenticity because it's got a breakdown of what is in the knife. So like I said, model, Mini Hunter, configuration, LL, liner lock, blade, Z Finnet. He's also got, I think he's got Z Finnet there in the back spacer, as well as the Rockwell hardness in there, which you can also see right there on the certificate of authenticity. Titanium liners, and then you can see his bolsters are linen micarta, and his scale is burlap micarta. So I think they're brown in color, both brown. Although the scale here looks kind of black, I think they're both brown. In the right lighting, you could tell. Yeah, and I like having a certificate of authenticity because, like for examples like this, I've got two other knives quickly at my reach, and if you did not have a certificate of authenticity, could you tell me what these blade steels were? Obviously, you know they're not like Damascus or Damasteel or Sanmai, but other than that, you could not tell me. You could not tell me if this is RWL 34. You couldn't tell me if it was CPM 154 or CM 154. You certainly couldn't tell me it was Z Finnet. Like, you would have not the foggiest idea what steel you were looking at. And especially after a knife has traded hands a couple of times, you would know, like, that sometimes the stuff gets lost and you wouldn't know. So I like having it because I like having the breakdown of what materials were used to make the knife, just for my own, like, interest. Okay, so let's talk about how I kind of came to know Jason's work. I saw one of Jim Skelton's videos a decade ago, or way back when, and when he first talked about him, he had, I guess, kind of a titanium bolster, kind of a bead blasted one in carbon fiber scales, I think. That tends to be a configuration I quite like now. But I saw his video on it, and then years later, I went to a show and saw Jason sitting at a show with knives on his table that you could buy. I ended up not buying any at that time because I had already went through my knife budget. But I got a chance to handle some of his work, and I was pretty impressed with it. Like, it's solidly built knives, and I think the most impressive thing about Jason's work is that you can get his stuff for more than fair prices, in my opinion, especially if you're looking at something that's used, but even new. Like, I think his prices for dressy materials, he's got quite a few models you can choose from. It's kind of like what the custom knife buying experience should be, in my opinion. And I guess that's because you know, he's not like, he doesn't have people banging on his door, breaking his door down, trying to get in the books per se. But I think that, you know, I like that you could still get stuff from him, is what I'm saying. And so he had stuff on his table that you can buy. I ended up not buying it, but I saw this come across a dealer's website for a price that was more than fair. And I bought it because I just wanted a custom knife. I wanted something that was a little bit smaller. I think the blade length on this is like 2.9 or 3 inches or something. So it fit the bill of what I was looking for. It fit the budget. And so I picked it up. And it's got to be one of my most carried knives, ironically. Because it was so affordable, I'm not super worried about like banging it up. As you can see, the blade has marks all over it. It's scuffed. It's got work done to it. And I'm fine with that because like this is not knife collecting isn't really an investment for me at all because I mean it's those assets are just not going to generate money. It's kind of like art. Like some artists do make money off of it, but I'm going to say most of the knife collectors aren't collecting knives because they think it's going to generate them big money, which is probably how it should be. It's not really an asset, but I'm okay to use it because I got it for a fair price. So like if nobody is ever interested in this knife again, I'm going to get plenty of happiness out of keeping it and using it and cutting down boxes or breaking down boxes or whatever I need to do. I don't mind sharpening it. I don't mind dinging it up. It's fine. And it's also super light and it's very carryable. So like you can slip it into your pocket and you forget about it, you need it, you break it out. It's a perfect companion because it's so unobtrusive to you and it's it's custom. Like I don't know, it checks all the boxes for me. Like I like carrying a custom knife because I buy them and I pay for them and I want to use them and I want to like them like that. I use most of my custom knives. Like I do pick like what knives I use for the day. So like if I know I'm going to be doing a lot of heavy cutting, like the Draco, the Dalibor Bergam Draco, this is what I want to take out. Like it's got this crazy user finish. It's got this big thick blade steel. So like if I'm out there working in the garage or whatever, like this is the knife that comes with. I'm not worried about banging this up because the finish hides it, but as you can see, it happens. So I do pick the knife for the day, and I don't typically take like my Stan Wilson non-flipper flipper on a day that I think I'm going to do a bunch of heavy cutting because I know whatever's in the pocket is going to get used, and I'm not willing to just like tear up a knife that's got a hot blued polished Damascus blade on it just because. So like if that's what's in the pocket and I got to open a box, that's one thing, but like I also do pick what knives I use for the day. And since I'm not worried about banging this knife up all that much, as you can see, it gets carried a lot. So yeah, as you can see, kind of now that I'm done talking about like why I bought this and stuff, let's talk about some of the details to it. I think it's got a machine finish satin on it. I think that's typically what you see with the vertical satins. And then he's probably got a hand satin on the flats there. And it's a good profile for cutting. It's pretty thin behind the edge. It's got a very usable tip. He's got an attractive top swedge there. It's a pretty attractive blade. He's got a very usable choil right there, and you can get up and do all the work you need for getting fine cutting in. He's got like 3 distinct finger grooves with the choil or 2 without, and I have like medium large hands. This is a pretty small knife, but somehow my fingers fit in there very naturally. I could see if your fingers don't fit in there, maybe it wouldn't be a hot spot because they're pretty well rounded, but I don't know, if your fingers didn't fit in there, you might think it's uncomfortable. So I'm sure he has models that have straight handles, so if you've got fingers that don't fit in finger cutouts very well, you could probably find something that works for you anyways. I do get a full finger grip on there, which I like. I don't like it when my pinky is hanging off and I'm like just barely grabbing the knife. Like, I don't know. I like having the knife under my control, and having a long handle that can handle that is what I like. The clip on there is just a kind of a satin belt finish, higher satin, but just titanium clip. A couple of screws popped in there. I actually did have to send this to Jason because when I bought it, one of the screws was rounded out from somebody trying to tighten the clip, and the clip was like flopping around and about ready to fall off. And so I sent it to him, and for the cost of shipping, he fixed it and sent it back. It didn't charge me anything else. So appreciate that customer service, especially because somebody else probably damaged the knife and he was willing to fix that, just replacing the screw for me. So that was really nice. And then as you can see, it's kind of a bolstered handle setup here. So He's just got two different kinds of micarta here. They're both pretty smooth, so I wouldn't say they offer like a ton of grip to them, but the finger choils lock you in pretty well, or the choil up top. So like, based on the fact that this isn't like a bushcraft knife, you're probably just going to be opening packages and stuff like that. And I think that the grip is adequate for the use cases that Jason imagined this knife in. I've never ran into any risk where I didn't think I had enough purchase on this knife and was running into issues, even with this smooth handle materials. Flipping action, let's talk about it for a second. It's on IKBS, as you can see. He's got it etched into the blade there. And it doesn't have the strongest detent in the world, and it's got a pretty small flipper tab, so it's not like you can get a ton of leverage on it and just crank it open. For instance, like my Jeremy Marsh, it's got this gigantic flipper tab, and that's why it's like it just flies open. Not so with this. This has got a pretty small flipper tab, and the detent on it is not like out of this world. It's very functional, don't get me wrong, but it's not like a finger breaker, where some of my knives definitely are. But it's if you actuate it, he's got it jimping on there, so it's like if you find it and you slide your finger all the way back, you won't misfire it when you need it. You can kind of push button it. I'd say it's more like a light switch. There are ways to misfire it. As you can see, I've done it a couple of times through the video. Like if you hand this to somebody and they just kind of like touch the flipper tab, it won't open all the way. But if you give it to somebody who knows knives, they'll know that you have to pull your finger back just a little bit further to really create that momentum. And if you know knives, like you can get this to flip open pretty effortlessly. So yeah, it requires a little bit of technique in terms of flippers. It's not like some of my other knives, but I think it's more than serviceable. And I carry this knife all the time, so I think that speaks for itself in terms of what its action is like. And I'm a bit of an action snob, so if I really don't like the action on something, I'll just get rid of it. But yeah, not this one. So yeah, that is my kind of quick thoughts. Fit and finish. There's not a ton going on with this knife, but the bolsters are obviously sanded pretty well. Since they're two like materials, you probably won't notice a lot of fit and finish. It's not like when you're doing titanium bolsters and carbon fiber scales where like the hardness in material makes the grinding different for those. So I think that requires a little bit more experience. Jason's certainly capable of doing that. He just chose not to on this example. But based on this example, which is all I've got in my hands right now, all the like interfacing is really smooth. You don't feel anything that's like wildly out of place. I got a nice satin finish on that floating backspacer, which kind of brings the silver accents through the knife really well. He's got that same finish on his titanium liners. As you can see, his scales are held onto the liners via 4 screws. I don't think they're anodized, and based on the fact that everything else on this knife is silver, you probably don't need to anodize them. He's got a little bit of jimping there on his lock bar, which makes it nice and easy to interface to. Yeah, it's comfortable to unlock. It never gets any lock stick. Its lockup is super secure, so big winners there. It's a good knife. Let's do some quick size comparisons just for funsies. I don't have my usual Benchmade, so I'm just going to compare it to things I got sitting next to me, and we'll rock with it. So this might be a knife that people might have. This is a UTX 70. This is a Microtech OTF knife. And it's also a pretty small knife. It's one of the smaller ones that Microtech makes. And you can see, like, in terms of blade length, man, they're not too far off. The Clark's probably got a little bit on there depending on how you line it up. But, like, if you just look like cutting edge to cutting edge, they're not outrageously different. Handle length, I think the Clark has a fair bit on the Microtech, maybe excluding the glass breaker here. But all in all, like, it's not a crazy big knife. Okay, continuing to the next comparison. Let's do the Microtech Scarab just because it's the other knife that I got. This is the underwater one. It's got these like cutouts through the blade so that water can pass through as the blade opens and closes. these are kind of desirable now, although this one's not in the best condition because I use it how I want to, and I don't really care about reselling it. So as you can see, this knife is it will be a fair amount bigger. So not the best size comparisons, but just because I think these are kind of hard to get now, but nonetheless, there you go. So yeah, this is my Jason Clark Mini Hunter. Should you buy one, I think it depends on what you collect knives for. If you need a really hard use knife, I don't know that Jason's work speaks to me in the same way that like Dalabor's work does. We'll try this one. This is a hard use knife. It's got crazy big thick blade stock. You can whack on this thing all day, and you could damn near cut down a tree. You'll be fine with this. I wouldn't say that's what Jason's work looks like to me. I'm sure it can handle a hard use. As you can see, I use it well, but it's not like that. It is really affordable. So like, if you want to step into the custom knife world and you don't want to shell out huge money, if you find something from his like lineup that you like, you can get it in a configuration you want, and it's a great way to step into getting something customized the way you want it. For pretty reasonable prices and probably reasonable lead times. You can also go to a knife show and buy something off of his table, or at least you could when I was shopping at least the last time I saw him at a show, which I like that. So would I buy something? Yeah, I mean, if his knives fit your use case and you're probably not planning on making it some kind of huge investment, and I think that this knife and his work could serve you well. It certainly served me well, and I don't intend on getting rid of this for reasons I've been speaking of. It's just, it fits what I want to use it for, and I like that. So yeah, I hope you found some entertainment out of this video, and let me know what you think. Have a good one, everybody.